Hello my brothers and sisters of the Order, welcome back to the Order, and for this Fantasy Friday video, we are actually going to be looking at something which I actually received a comment on from the last Fantasy Friday video on the Airbender nomads and what their weapons and armor would have been, and guess what it is today? It is now the Earth Kingdom, in which this one I was actually planning on doing next. Well, either that or the Water Tribe, and in truth, I'm kind of glad I'm going to be doing the Earthbending next, because in truth, the Earthbenders are probably one of my favorite guys besides the Fire Nation. Now, in truth, this one I actually had a slight bit of a hard time finding their weapons and equipment, but if we understand one thing, we gotta look at their equipment inside Avatar to understand their entire being. Now in truth, if any of you all understand anything about the Earthbenders, I'll leave links down below that actually shows what type of gear and equipment they actually had in the entire series. Now in truth, I'm only going to be focusing on the Earth Kingdom soldiers itself. If y'all want me to cover, say, the Dai Li, or as well as the Kyoshi Warriors, or including even Kuvira and her army from the Legend of Korra, and I'll do some probably separate videos on them probably later, if you all want me to. In fact, leave it down in the comments below because I would like to hear y'all's opinion on it. Anyways, now why don't we actually first look at the Earth Kingdom soldier. Now, when we think of Earth Kingdom soldiers, we normally see this image or the Ba Sing Se image like this. Now, first and foremost, these kind of gear I tend to look at, and they look a lot different than what we normally think. In fact, for example, this Earth Kingdom soldier actually looks like he's wearing like a type of helmet technically of a slight slouch design, which as well for the Ba Sing Se soldier, they're also wearing a type of helmet near identical to a historical one. Now in truth, they're both wearing two different type of helmets that are actually identical. For example, the Earthbender regular common foot soldier, he's wearing a type of helmet in which, well, it has that slouch design. Now, what real weapons and armor would they have actually worn, you might ask? Well, in truth, well, that's the thing. They would have technically both worn the same type of arms and armor, except for the same helmet. In truth, the Ba Sing Se guards would have actually worn this type of helmet, while the common soldier would have worn this. So, yeah. Now, the common soldier would have probably worn something like this, a Kettle Helmet. Now, in truth, why would you might say, oh, Timor, why would they wear a Kettle Helmet? Kind of obvious. It looks identical to that of which a Earth Kingdom soldier would have probably worn, and as which it has that rounded design in the process, which covers his entire upper head, and as well, this keeps his entire head exposed, so that way you can see. Now, there are different models, so they could have adopted any type of one of these, in which I would be happy of seeing them actually wearing that. That would have actually really looked cool. Because let's imagine it, though, because... Now, if none of you understand, if any of y'all have ever seen the series Avatar The Last Airbender, especially when Zuko and Iroh fight against a group of Earthbenders, for example, we actually see one of them actually use the helmet as a type of shield. Now, in truth, this is why I didn't exactly am planning on giving the Earthbenders any type of shield, due to the fact they're technically Earthbenders, so they don't technically need a shield, since you can use either the helmet or Earth itself. So, yeah. Now, in doing so, though, this helmet could probably work. The Kettle Helmet could probably work best. Why? Because it looks identical to the common helmet. Now, the Ba Sing Se soldier, they would have actually worn something probably near identical to this. This is a Chinese-style helmet. And this looks very identical to what they wear at Ba Sing Se, which I find that really cool. It actually does look just nearly like that, which... There are different models, though, what they would have looked like, such as the one that was used in Korea, the one that was used in China, the ones that was used by the Mongols. There are different models that they would have probably used. But you gotta admit, this is really awesome. But I do like the fact that if, in truth, the common Earthbender foot soldier would have probably used a Kettle Helmet, probably a little more. And of which, why? Kind of obvious. these guys need a perfect helmet that can actually stop, say, a boulder coming down on them, or even fire blasts. Because if we know one thing, the Earth Kingdom technically fought against itself a lot of times. So, in doing so, we could probably see, say, this Earthbender fighting against this Earthbender tribe, and so they probably need a helmet to stop a rock landing on their head. So these two helmets would have probably worked perfectly. But in doing so, the Kettle Helmet would have probably been mostly used by the common foot soldier because of its slouching design. In fact, even the Dai Li wear a type of near modeled version of it. So yeah, that's actually really good. But now, what other types of armor could we probably also see him wearing? Well, let's actually take a look at the body, for example. Now, in truth, the body is one of the major things that an Earthbender needs. And as well, it also states that the Earthbender needed type of armor that in which he had freedom of movement, meaning he didn't have to worry about his arms getting hung up. What does I mean by that? Kind of obvious. In other words, he had to have no armor on his shoulders, meaning no full armor, none of that. But the thing is, we do see him technically wearing a type of gauntlets, but I'll get to that slightly later. So what in true type of body armor he would have worn? Well, he could have actually worn many types. He could have actually worn one of my favorites, the Lorica Hamata, of which is a sleeveless style armor, of which was used by both the Celts and the Romans. And in truth, this armor is freedom of movement for the arms, which is perfect for an Earthbender. In fact, it actually states that Sokka had actually had the Metal Clan actually build this type of armor to actually make it extremely soft. If none of y'all ever read the books or comics and such. So, and yes, I am a big Avatar fan, if none of y'all understand. But yeah. Now, in truth though, if they weren't able to actually use, say, the Lorica Hamata, maybe they could have used the Lorica Skelmata, of which is technically scale armor of the Lorica Hamata version. In other words, sleeveless model all the way around. In doing so, this could have probably been perfect for them because of the fact it's still freedom of movement. However, if they needed plate armor, this would actually get slightly more hard to actually understand. Now in truth, I could probably see him wearing laminar maybe, of which, if not you don't understand, laminar is near identical to scales. However, it's a lot more tightly woven, meaning it's a lot more probably perfect to actually stop the blow of an Earthbender's, well, rock coming at him. And in doing so, this is in case if they fight against each other in a civil war. Now, there is also the Brigandine, which I do like, of which could actually probably work for them. It's sleeveless, plus in the fact you technically have the entire body technically, well, moving freely with the force of, well, fighting. Meaning it's a very perfect to stop a said weapon. Now in truth, and you'll understand, one of the weapons I probably see a firebender using would pretty much mostly be bladed weapons. Why bladed weapons? Well, none of you will actually remember seeing the fight between Zuko and a bunch of Earthbender bullies, I guess you could call them that. He technically used the swords to actually make the blades actually spin out a type of fired flame, which is really cool. So in truth, if we could see actually that happening, I could probably see something that would be, well, resistant to it, which would be, well, Lorica Hamata, Lorica Skilmata, or including Laminar. Now, in truth though, another one would actually be this, a light cuirass. Why the light cuirass? The light medieval cuirass, as you can see, has, well, thigh protection plus a type of rounded protection piece. But I could probably see only a commander probably wearing this. Still though, it does look good, but I really wouldn't, but I probably wouldn't see the, well, as we all put it, the, armor for the shoulders or anything like that, or any full armor. So I would not probably see that at all. So yeah. But now, in truth, I could probably also see him probably wearing something around a like a Lorica Sigmund Tartar that was used by the Romans, and of which this could probably somewhat work, but I probably don't see it working that much. I don't know why. I just don't see an Earthbender probably wearing that mostly. I don't know why. But now, what about this? A World War I chestplate. These were actually used during World War I. And the thing is, these were actually incredibly light and yet incredibly resilient. And in truth, this does actually look like a earthbender would probably wear something like this. But I would actually rather prefer wearing mail or Lordica or Laminar mostly. Why? Kind of obvious. These are earthbenders we're talking about, people. They need something extremely light. And in truth, they're not exactly the most soft type people. Now, one type of thing I could probably actually want to have my earthbender probably wear would be leg armor. Now, many of you might not realize this, or many of you were probably not born when I was, or something and such. And in truth, if none of you understand, earthbenders, when they fight, they don't fight while wearing boots. They don't wear boots, they don't wear any shoes, they have bare feet. Literally, they only have bare feet. They feel it more comfortable. And as well, with Toph, since she's blind as a bat, there's a major problem with that. Now, in truth, here's something that I would actually like to see him actually put on the earthbender. The Sabaton, or in truth, it's called the medieval knight's boot, or whatever people call it, or as idiots call it. Now, many of you all might not know what this is. This is technically a type of armored boot that goes right around your regular boot. And in truth, this is technically the steel-toe boot before the steel-toed boot came out. So, yeah, a knight's steel-toe. And in which I would actually have this work, it would go from their foot and just reach up probably to their knee. Now, maybe you wonder, Templar, how is this supposed to work for Toph or any other earthbender? Well, if none of you understand, the Sabaton is actually supposed to go over the boot, meaning it has it actually has a major opening below, meaning you can easily just put your foot in there, and in truth, this is actually how it's supposed to work. Now, some models, though, did have sewn on boots somehow, which I don't even know how that works, but yeah. But as I state, this could probably work a lot better for the earthbender. Meaning, a firebender, if he technically blasts him with fire, guess what? All the earthbender needs to do is stomp down his foot, and guess what? His foot is completely protected all the way around because of it. And in doing so, the entire foot is actually, well, encircled by the metal. That metal plate, and which, if we can see it, could probably, say, go up to his, as I said, to his knees or something like that. And is what this could probably be perfect for the earthbender. In doing so, they could still actually have bare feet and yet have it armored. Meaning, I don't have to worry about having my guy lose his foot on the battlefield. Now, another type of weapon or gear I could probably see him wearing would actually be the gauntlets. Now, why the gauntlets? Well, kind of one big reason. Gauntlets are one of the biggest things I probably would see an earthbender wear, and of which there are many model designs out of them. One, there are technically the Gothic designs, there are the fingerless hourglass designs, there are the fingered hourglass designs, which are really cool. However, I could probably see an earthbender wearing something as of a light model type of arm guard / gauntlet. If none of you all know what these look like, these actually had different model designs to them. Some fingered and some fingerless. In doing so, they would technically just be about this much. But I could probably still see an earthbender using these. And in doing so, they could probably actually use it to a full advantage. So, yeah. But now, that gives off their armor. What about their weapons, you might ask? Well, from the Earthbender series, I do see a lot of earthbenders using bladed weapons, which I don't technically see an earthbender using, or any person in the earthbender kingdom using at all. Why? Kind of obvious. It doesn't not make any sense. Why? Hello, this is Earth Kingdom territory. This isn't Fire Nation territory. This isn't Water Tribe. And in truth, you would actually see an earthbender probably using something to smash the ground and such. So, in fact, we actually do see that actually also with the bully scene when Zuko defeats the guy with the big giant ass mallets. However, that actually could probably work. Now, in truth, other type of weapons could also be this. These are the knuckle dusters. These are Chinese knuckle dusters, and of which were actually used in Kung Fu style combat, in which are meant to actually be used in type of showman type combat in parts of Asia. I'm told in street fightings and such, which those things look like they would really hurt. But just imagine if an earthbender took him and he can actually punch the ground harder and even launch a stone harder. That would kind of be horrifying. Now, there is also technically the chain mace, and it's used in Chinese type combat also. Now in truth, I could probably see an earthbender probably twirl this around and then smack it in the ground, causing a violent earth shake or whatever, which that could probably work. However, I could probably see him mostly using something like this, a medieval warhammer and mace. Why? Kind of obvious. These things are extremely dangerous, and in fact, if you were to actually hit the ground, especially an earthbender, if he was to whack at the ground immediately, I can just imagine how the earthquake, the sinkholes, or something that the earthbender could probably do. In fact, just imagine what might have happened to the giant drill that attacked Ba Sing Se. It could have probably been destroyed in like 2 seconds flat if they had used those type of weapons. Now, in truth, also there are other type of weapons, such as the flail and the staff flail, of which, if now you understand what these type of weapons are, these are extremely dangerous weapons by back then and today's standards. In fact, there are different model designs. Some of them have spiked ball heads, some of them just have regular weighted tips, depending. And which, just imagine if this was to actually hit the ground also, or even an earth or a firebender and such. I could probably see that not ending well for them. Now, in truth though, I could probably also see them using some weird weapon known as the staff mace, which is very weird in some historical type of cultures. Why? Kind of obvious. These things were extremely heavy duty, and if you were to hit the ground with them, holy crap! I could probably see an earthbender probably killing at least a dozen Fire Nation soldiers. Now, that also brings me to the kanabo. Now, the kanabo is a Japanese-style weapon, and in truth, I could probably do see this working somewhat, maybe, but in truth, now I've also added the axe. Why the axe? Kind of obvious. Some axes back then actually had a hammer on one end and an axe blade in the other. So in doing so, this would be perfect for a Fire Nation soldier to die. Why? Here's the thing. Just imagine if a earthbender was to take his, well, single-bladed axe head with the hammer on the end, and here's the thing. He does it like this, and he uses earthbending to launch the axe, and in the process, it gets him, technically cuts a firebender in half, or better yet, he can actually use it to launch the weapon, and it does a Doppler effect on each one of the firebenders. But in truth, I do see probably the best weapon would either be a massive hammer piece, a flail of some sort, a mace, or a warhammer. These weapons would probably be perfect, in which I would probably see the earthbender mainly wearing a kettle helmet, a lorica or a lorica hamata, a lorica scalemata, or a laminar, with gauntlets, sabatons, and pretty much that's about it. And which this sounds like it would actually work a lot better and look a lot more awesomer on our earthbenders. For both groups, in fact, because in truth the Chinese warrior would have pretty much worn the same thing as the common soldier except for the helmet. So yeah, but in truth the common soldier would have probably looked a lot more badass with that kettle helmet. But anyways guys, if you liked this video, let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you all want me to talk about anything. If I missed out on anything, let me know in the comments below. If you all want me to talk about anything of fantasy related and arms and armor and what realistic type of things they would have worn and such, please let me know in the comments below, and I will get right to actually studying it and actually getting hold of it in future, so that way I can actually get the video up and running. But as well, guys, if you all want me to talk about either Kavura's army or the Kyoshi warriors, or including even the Dai Li agents and what their weapons and armor should have been and such, let me know in the comments below. And as well, I will leave a link down below for y'all if y'all need that information on where I got this type of stuff, of which I got my thinking cap on for this information. But as well, guys, also check out our Facebook. That way you can actually know what the next upcoming video is going to be. And as which, also check out many forms of other forms of history that of which these weapons are incredible at. And of which, if you can understand why I chose these weapons, here's the thing. It's not just because of they look cool and such, it's because of how they worked. Earthbenders needed to be light and mobile with their arms. They couldn't have heavy-duty armor. They had to have something that of which was perfect for them to do their bending and such. And in doing so, they needed something that was perfect for it. Now in truth, their weapons though had to be extremely heavy-duty weaponry, meaning if it came due to it, the Earthbender could easily crush a Fire Nation army. But yeah, if you all want me to cover the other last two nations, let me also know that in the comments below. I'll be happy to do it immediately. And if you all have any weapons from, say, Avatar The Last Airbender you all want me to talk about mostly, like such as Sokka's boomerang, or even Zuko's swords, or something like that, let me know in the comments below. I'll be happy to talk about it immediately. Anyways, guys, it's been Templar. Have a great day, and also click that bell button, notifications, and as well, also make sure to subscribe to actually help the channel grow. Anyways, guys, it's been Templar. Have a great day.